Alright, so we are live. How are you guys all doing in chat? I already see Gman13. How are you doing? Anyhow, whilst I wait for the lag to catch up. Today we're going to be looking at developing some more GMStruct. So GMStruct is a tool I've been working on for a small while, which allows you to generate GML, which will help you build structures and classes and whatnot. So at the moment it's pretty simple. It only creates simple structs using arrays and functions and all that. But I plan to work on that today and add some more features such as functions and whatnot. And hello Momphus Arboleo from Argentina. Just checking that I did leave my microphone on. Yeah, that's all good. Okay, so what I wanted to do first of all was work on, well, I forgot actually what I wanted to work on. So this is going to be a bit different from my usual streams, since usually I do some just simple game makers things, but now I'm actually working in Java, so I'm using IntelliJ here. And if you haven't, well, most of you won't know that, but the tool GMStruct that I'm working on, which is, by the way, open source, you can find the source on GitHub, is using Antler and everything to parse a special language I'm creating called GMS, which will allow you to define new structs in GameMaker, new structures and functions and whatnot, which makes, eventually I hope will make making, what do you call them, extensions and such, much easier, and it'll allow them to work together and so on. Oh, so I remember what I wanted to work on. Actually, I have a copy of GameMaker open here with which I used to test my structure things on, and I'm actually going to increase the font size here. And as you can see, it's just a bunch of debug message printing. I wanted to change it such that, well, right now the type of each structure is stored, well, in the first element of an array. So if you look at, for example, new bar, it will set 1 as the first element of the array, which is okay, but the problem is that right now there's a way to differentiate different structs from each other, but there's no way to differentiate just a random array from a struct. And so the solution to that would be to use a map and simply map some arrays to types. That way, if the array is not inside the map, it simply doesn't exist. Now, the only problem with that is going to be with garbage collection, where arrays will basically fill up the map more and more. And now that I think about it, I don't really have a solution for that, because I don't want to have a structure free, or maybe I should. I'm not entirely sure yet. Well, that's not a decision I can really make on stream, because it's a big, right now it's all automatically handled by GameMaker, so having to do this would be a little annoying. I would have to find a special thing I could put here which no one else could guess. Something like a pointer or something. I'm gonna oh, I could actually store an array in here and no one else could have. Ooh, yes, that's actually possible. I'm gonna have to think about this off stream. I only just realized now that the plan I had before actually won't work quite that well. So for now, before we do much, I want to change something. So the project is split up into two main parts. So we have our GUI project and our generator project. And right now you can only run everything via the GUI, but I want to just create a easy main method in here inside my generator so that I can test more easily. So I'm going to create a new main class. And I just want to check how many people are watching. 6 people, okay. So actually I need to refresh it, yeah. So at least some people are interested in this stream. So this class will just be basically testing my setup. So I'm going to do public static void main. It takes a string, an array of string, that is. Oops, I'm just going to name this args because it's nicer. And so what I want to do is run my generator, which I don't remember how it works. Now I do have something to ask you guys in chat, and that is if you have any ideas for a future tutorial, since you may have noticed I haven't uploaded in 2 weeks or so, and that's because, well, I haven't had that much time, but also I don't have an idea I really want to work on. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. Now let's see. Where is my main generation happening? Okay, so I just got a list of scripts and then I simply write them to a certain path. That's okay, I can do that. So I can do, first I'm going to add this new file to my Git. I'm just going to say that my in path, so path, is that correct? Is it NIO? It shouldn't be NIO, it should be path. Oh, I'm using path, that's right. Let's use file instead. File in equals equals new file args 0. So this is the first time I think that I'm streaming something, actually that I'm recording anything else than Game Maker on this channel. So let me know if am I back online? Appear to be back online. Yeah. So I don't know how long I was disconnected right there. Let's see. Yeah, seems like I'm connected. But I was basically saying that this was, I think, the first time on this channel I'm doing anything else than Game Maker. Well, I'm kind of doing Game Maker, but this is mainly going to be Java. So I want to know if you guys are interested in that or not. Actually, this is going to be path out equals new path. Oh, can I not do path? Oh, I'm going to have to do new file args1 dot to path. Yes, that works. That GMStruct is more fast than useDSMap, right? Yes, so it is already faster than DSMap by about a factor of 2. But its main advantage comes in its inheritance setup. So you can have, for example, a car struct, which will be also a vehicle struct. So you can actually say, is this a vehicle? And then, is this a car? And if it's a car, it'll say, yes, this is also a vehicle, which makes some things a lot easier. You have some amount of polymorphism. It also means that there's no way you can spell anything wrong, which is great as well, because, you know, you'll have autocomplete and everything. And eventually, there'll be polymorphic functions which will make a lot of things neater to handle as well. And I see GMN13 asking, is there any reason not to use that system? It is slower. So, sorry, not to use actor action model of AI. Well, actor action can be used for AI. It's what I like to do is have my characters, say if my player and my enemy have the similar kind of character, they will both be actors and the very same object with an actor, and then I would have a player control action and an AI control action. It's a bit slower because of the extra memory accesses and everything, but it really shouldn't matter that much. I really like the actor action model. It really depends on your game. If you don't have this global thing where everything works in a similar way, there isn't much point. So is GMStruct going to make GML more of a object orientation language? Yes, it is. The basic idea is, right now it's structs, so it's only structs, but they're going to slowly work their way into being classes. Not quite though. From within GML, they'll look like structs, But from within GMS, they will be full-on classes eventually. Right now, they're still just structs, though. Yeah, so state machines are great for AI. Actions are really like extending state machines to be able to do more. Basically, actions allow you to have states shared across many different state machines, and they're not like locked into certain state machines. So you can have any object, you could just give it an action no matter what other variables it holds and everything. It's a much more flexible system. But again, you shouldn't use it for everything. It has its uses, but it's not it's not used for anything. Are you making this for GMS2 only? Yes, right now GMStruct is GMS2 only. There's no reason why this couldn't be extended to GMS 1.4, but I'm not going to support it right now because it does mean having 2 copies of everything. I would have to generate code for GMS2 and have generators for GMS 1.4. The code is open source, so anyone could add the support if they wanted to, and if they have a pull request, I would totally add this in if the code is neat. So if you know Java, go ahead. The code is, I think, legible enough. If not, you can always ask on the GMC for me for any help. Anyhow, I better get back to the code. So I have my in and out files and paths, and now I can do list of is it set of scripts? I don't remember. Let's see, generator.generate, I think, or generate scripts gives me a list of scripts. Okay, so list of script. Whoops. Scripts is equal to generator.generate scripts, and my input is this, and it takes a string. Oh, okay, that makes everything so much easier. So I'm actually just going to pass it args0, and I should probably throw an exception if I don't have enough things. So I'm going to say if args is .length is smaller than 2, then we can throw new a legal state, I guess, or a legal argument. I'm not entirely sure which one. A legal argument will work. Requires input and output path. Now, this this will work for now. So now I can do for each script inside scripts. So for every script we just generated, we want to say script dot write at path out. Here we go. And it obviously doesn't like it. Oh, I need to try catch it. Here we go. So this is not the actual code that we're gonna run. This is just for me to test, which means I can now create a new configuration. Edit configurations. Let's create a new one. It's an application. Yes. The name is going to be test. And I did not mean to press enter. Edit configuration. So the main class is inside generator main. VM options. Okay, so now the important things are program arguments, which are going to be, I think, test. Is test a good name? It's gonna have to do for now. Slash test.gms, and then the output would be test slash out slash. That should work, I believe. So now I can go in here, new directory, which I'm gonna call test. I'm gonna exclude it from the build. So mark directory as excluded. New file test.gms. And I can go ahead and do, is it struct? Yeah, I think it's struct foo x and y. So for if you don't know, this here is how you create a structure. You just write struct, the name of the structure, open parentheses, and list the attributes you want it to have. You can also give them default values and everything. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, VM options, what? Okay, I did something wrong. Module not specified. Where is the module? Use class pass module. So good. Yeah, this should work. Not found in module GMStruct. Do I need to GMStruct main? No, generator main, generator? No, generator main. Ah, here you go, run. Let's hope this works. So I see some more things in here. Hello, we still make games when you're 64. Woodworking fangirl, I hope so. Would be sad if I don't. Everything works sort of similarly, but with different speeds of damage values and whatnot. I'm currently using a system in which every mobile instance has same variables of motion. Well, G-Man 13 in that case, actor actions may work. Yeah, it's kind of a personal thing, I guess. Hello, Zekrons. Yeah, just Zekrons. I'm working on GMStruct, if the title of the stream did make it clear. Yeah. If you don't know what GMStruct is, I'll explain when a couple more people come in. Oh, actually, few counts are going down. How fun. So yeah, so it worked. We generated our code, and as you can see, this is all valid GML. What I wanted to test really quickly was whether my type checking thing works. So I can see here, I said that x is specifically a real value, and if I run it now, I can now open foo-x, and it first checks whether it's the right kind of foo thing, and here we go. It checks if it's a real or not, which is exactly what we need. However, what I wanted to check was whether or not we could have other structs be a type. So I can do struct bar equals whatever, and then could x be a type bar? Let's run this and see if it works. Hopefully it worked. Is bar, which exists. Great. So this all works. We can actually start adding some new functionality. I see some more things in here on the chat. So G-Man, it really depends. I mean, I'm into incredibly complex and like abstract systems. I like entity component systems, which mean you have entities which have no code, components which just have variables, and systems which just have logic. And systems act on entities based on what components they have. I absolutely love this system, but it's not for everyone. If you like using single instances, you can totally go that way, but I don't think it's the most maintainable solution. I think it really depends on your system, and it's hard to tell from just a small chat comment which one will be right for you. If you're not comfortable with it yet, I wouldn't say you use it, but if it's not a serious project, then, you know, give it a shot, see if it works. If it doesn't work, then try something else. I mean, a project I'm working on, I've tried like 4 different approaches, and I finally found one I'm happy with, which is incredibly complicated. I have an actor action system which works using a stack, so there's only one action at a time, and they're all stacked together, so I can queue them up. But I also have an entity component system used just for the graphics, and they communicate using an event bus. It's very complicated, but it works because, you know, that's after 5 iterations I found something that worked for my project, and it really depends on your project. That's all I can say, really, at this point. It really depends on your project. So, I have this working. What I want to do now is add functions, because I think that's about all we need now, because we have default values, we have types. What else is there? Yeah, I think I'm going to add functions. The trouble with functions is that they're going to have to run some kind of language, which is going to have to be some similar enough to GML, if not GML itself, like a bit of extended GML, which means writing a lot of grammar definition. And that is going to be a little tricky, at least at first. Oh yeah, we even have namespaces. I didn't mention that. Namespaces allow you to have structs named the same. Like, you know, you could have one called car and another one called car, as long as they're in different namespaces. And then eventually, inside GameMaker, you could switch namespaces to use different cars depending on what you're currently doing. Now, cars doesn't make a lot of sense, but if you have, say, a shadow which is used for vision, and another shadow which is used for graphics, you may want them to be called the same, but one of them in the graphics namespace and the other one in the vision namespace, for instance. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say that a struct has not only an attribute list, so I'm actually gonna expand this a bit. But after the attribute list, we could have an optional list of, well, actually, wait, I should call this. I'm gonna create a new thing called a function list, which is going to be functions. And I'm actually going to say that functions is going to be function. Yeah, just a list of functions, like so should be enough. And a function, just without an S. A function is an ID followed by. Should a function have a type? I think I'm going to keep everything duck typed like GML is right now. So it's going to be an ID followed by a list of variables. So it's going to have this, a list of IDs, and then a body. Now, what's going to be tricky is defining the body. So what we can say is that, so here we can say a function body and a function body is just, oh, that's the tricky part, because a function body can be quite complicated. You have a series of statements. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how feasible this is going to be, because it requires defining a pretty complex language. A function, let me think. You can have statements. I'm going to require that everything be done with, so I'm going to have something called a line. And a line is going to be an assignment. Assignment. Is that how you spell assignment? I don't even know. For now, we're just going to say a line can only be an assignment and has to be followed by a semicolon, an assignment. I don't think there's the extra E in assignment. I'm going to Google this. I want to be spelling things right. Yeah, there's no E. Assignment is just going to be an ID, which followed by an equal sign, followed by any value, which a value, so I'm going to write value here, and a value can be a number, an ID, or a string. All right, now function body apparently doesn't exist. That's because I didn't spell it right. All right, so now we can have assignments. It can also be a method call. And a method call, or a function call is more correct. And a function call is me think. A function call is an ID followed by parentheses and then a number of values followed by this again. That's a function call. Now what's interesting is that a value can itself also be a function call. Function call. So right here under value, I'm going to say it's a number, an ID, a string, or a function call. There we go. And it's just a number of values like this. So now we have assignments or function calls, or yeah, I think that's it. So what else can you do in a programming language? You have for loops and such, which I'm going to leave out for now. I can add them in later. So let's quickly save this. Let's generate Amigo parser generator. Actually, let's quickly check whether function works. Test rule function. Can I say foo takes in like an x and y? Ah, yeah. Okay. So my IDs here should be ID like so, followed by this. I'm actually going to create a new thing called an ID list. ID list equals ID followed by some water. Followed by a possible ID and any number of those. Now for some, oh yeah, it's not equals, it's like this. And then there's only a possible ID list. You don't always need an ID list. And here I should probably say that there is a possible function list. But if there is a function list, you need to precede it with this, like so. Here we go. And this is possible. So let's test my function again. Okay, so for some reason the function doesn't like to be closed. Oh, that's because the function body should only be possible. You could leave the body out entirely. Let's run this again, test real function. And here we can say, for example, x equals 8. Oh yeah, no, for some reason it doesn't like the semicolon at the end. So function body is just a number of lines, first of all, which I could probably remove this here. And a line finishes, oh, I see. I should probably put this in parentheses such that this gets put right at the end. So let's test this again. Oh no, is this asset going to be Android specific? No, this isn't really an asset. It's a tool which will run on the PC and or any, I mean, it's not just Windows, it's Java, so it runs anywhere. And it's used to generate GML code based on my own defined GMS language. It's a tool I've been working on for a while. It's open source, so you can go ahead and find the code on GitHub. You can currently download the tool on itch.io. I think you should find it by Googling. I'm actually gonna quickly open a new window. You can probably just do itch.io and then GMStruct. You should be able to find it. Maybe. Here, oh well, you actually find the gaming community thing, and you can see how to use it here. I should probably post a link to it in the chat. So you have the source on GitHub as well. And I generally keep the source updated pretty often. Right now on itch.io you can also download the tool. I think it's the second version now. That's up on itch.io. And yeah, all the instructions are here on here. You can actually go further here, and I talk talk about namespaces as well, so you can go ahead and check it out. So yeah, it's not really an asset, it's a tool which allows you to generate GML code to have structs. It's a kind of an extension to GML in a way. So yeah, my function thing seems to work. Can I do foo? Oh, actually, foo is a bad idea, but L equals like a function, for example, instance create something. Okay, so my function call takes a number of values, but that's not correct. I need something called a value list as well. So value list is, first of all, a value. I already have an ID list, right? Yeah, so it's basically the same thing as my ID list, and then value this. So now I can say here this is a value list. However, it has to be an optional value list, so I don't need to put the first value in. Let's test my function again. Test rule function. And it seems to be working. Can I also just do instance create? Ooh. Sure, it seems to be working. So the next step is making assignments a bit better, because assignments should have an optional var prefix or global var, but I'm going to assume that global var is bad and no one should ever use it. So we now have a function with a function body. I'm just going to go ahead and say that the first ID is the name. Next we have an ID list, which is the only one. Function body. And the function body I can just, yeah, that should all work fine. ID list is going to be a bit tricky. It means that my function body, I'll have to replace all the IDs. I can do that with a tree walker. Okay, great. I think I can save this and generate my, I'm just going to test my whole rule first and say that I need a struct of type, for example, foo, and it has x and y and whatnot, and then I can also say it has a function named foo that takes x and y and has this body, and we already know the body works. Okay, this seems to work fine. So let's generate my recognizer. So you heard that GML is based off C++, and you're not sure how that is. It's weird. GML is weird. It runs, if you compile using the YYC, it eventually runs on C++. It gets compiled down to C++. The language itself is more inspired by C and JavaScript, maybe a bit. Would you ever be able to create an operating system using only GameMaker? No, that's not possible. GameMaker already runs using like lots of libraries which already depend on your operating system. So it runs using, you know, OpenGL or DirectX and so on. And you need the operating system to run GameMaker in the first place. I mean, to run GameMaker games in the first place. So there's no way to create an operating system with just GameMaker. Operating systems are incredibly complicated things. They're not like, they're you know, complex systems. Not something you can replicate with GameMaker. I don't even know why you would use GameMaker in the first place, given how complicated OSs can be. GameMaker is really not suited for the job in the first place. Now, we generated our parsers. Now let's go inside our generator and let's start thinking about this. So we now have functions. So I'm probably going to need a new class, which is going to be a function class. Plus you can't really lower level CPU function and custom memory stuff. Yeah, that's true. So function, yeah, sure, let's call it function. So our function, what's inside gen? Oh right, yes, that's my generated source. So I'm gonna add this to my Git. Well, I think it would be a bit of a stretch to say that GameMaker was based off C++. I mean, that's like saying Java, you know, is based off C because, you know, the JVM runs in C. So, yeah, but you can't write an OS using Java because Java runs on the JVM, which itself runs on the OS. Yeah, C++ can access pretty much all the low-level stuff. I can't think of a single thing. Can C++ access CPU registers? I don't think so. Maybe some weird library allows it to do that, but I'm pretty sure it cannot do registers. But I could be wrong. So a function has, first of all, a name, and it has a string body. And yep, that's pretty much it. It has a name, a body, and for our purposes, that's good enough for now. Actually, no, it should also have a string, a list of string so we have a list of strings which will be its arguments. Yeah. So we use. So no, GameStruct Studio 2 still isn't the best for 3D. It has cameras now, which are better for 3D, but still not incredible. It's still really a 2D engine, and it should stay that way as well, because there's no way it's going to ever rivalize against Unity, for instance. I'm happy for it to stay as a 2D engine too. So we now have arguments. So we're going to say public function. We'll take a string name, a list of string arguments. And I see Dan Frieden, thank you very much for that super chat. I really appreciate it. Zargi Studios, yes, this is what I'm working on. Yeah, I've been working on this for a couple of weeks, maybe a month. I don't know. Actually, I've been working on this for 3 or 4 weeks now. Yeah, maybe a month. I'm working on another project as well, but this is what I'm working on the GameMaker side of things. Which, funny enough, still isn't running in GameMaker. It's mainly Java. So it also takes then a body, string body. Actually, I want to check something with my struct. Does it actually ever get created with a context? Oh, it does get created on a context. In that case, my function could also be created on a context. I can do public function. Oh, it should also take a struct, because a function belongs to a struct. Oh, but does that really matter? Oh, it doesn't matter for now. Oh, sorry, I misread your original post, Zargi Studios. Yeah, I'm working on GMStruct, which is a tool which allows you to write code in a language I'm writing called GMS, which is kind of an extension to GameMaker, allowing you to have structs and eventually something very similar to classes. And we'll generate some GML code generating array structs, so similar to what I've already created a video on, allowing you to have something similar to classes, but within GML it will look a lot more like structs. I'm thinking you could use it as an extension to GML, so if you want to add some complex systems, if you want to add some complex systems, you could write it in GMS, generate the GML for it, and then just use your GML code to call it. I wanted to create it because, like, I'm tired of GML and using arrays everywhere. So this is my answer to GML. If you're interested, it looks somewhat like this. Yeah, you could, for example, set default values here and there. You can make foo be an extension of bar, and so on. Right now I'm adding functions to it. What about updating it? Just copy and replace? Are you talking about updating your GMS code? If so, yeah, you just rerun the code, regenerate it, delete everything that's inside your project, your GameMaker project, and replace it with the new scripts. Eventually I'm working on a I'm eventually going to be working on a UI that will allow you to work directly from with your project. So you'll still have the external tool, but it'll be able to hook into your GameMaker project and swap over all the resources automatically. Alright, Zargi Studio, well, thanks for taking an interest in it. I posted somewhere up the chat a link to the GameMaker forums. If you can't access it right now, I can... Here we go. Here it is. Here's the forum post where I'll be updating everything. So if you're interested, head there and you can see everything. Where to download it, where to view the code, everything, which is nice. You can also contribute to the project if you're like a Java wizard and can somehow iron out some of the bugs I'm having in there, which are, I think I've only have one bug that I noticed. But yeah. So yeah, I want a function which is going to be based on a, I think it's going to be a function context. Function context, yeah. Function context. And I kind of want to import it. Here we go. By the way, I love using Java. One of the reasons for it is IntelliJ. It's miles ahead of the GameMaker Studio 2 IDE. Which really shouldn't come too much of a surprise. Now, the name is going to be equal to the context dot, let me see, name dot get text. And then I can go and say, let's see, for, actually I need to context dot Ready? What did I call it? Where's my function? Function ID list. I'm gonna call these. Yeah, I'm just gonna go function context.id list dot ID. So for what does ID give you actually? It's a terminal node. Okay. So for terminal node, I'm just gonna call this ID in context ID list. Boom, and then okay, so I reconnected. Sorry for that. I don't have the best internet connection where I am. Still going through phone lines and everything. It's not the best. But I am back, and I think I was telling the creator that you still have to edit the main project file to add new resources. Right now, you literally have to drag and drop the generated scripts into the GameMaker Studio IDE, which isn't the best, but I'm going to be working on a solution to that. So I want to instantiate my arguments. It's going to be equal to a new list. I think an array list should be okay. And then arguments.add id.getText. And finally, our body is going to be equal to context.body function body.getText. Actually, function body, what does that look like? Yeah, okay, that's okay. Finally, what we want to do is say something like public string. Actually, public, can I just do script get script, and that will get the GML scripts from that function. And what we shall do, I can actually remove this since I'm always going to be creating a function through my context, and say that more water. Our I can't remember how script works. So return new script. So a script takes, I can't remember how scripts work. Name and description. Oh yeah, and then I append to the body, that's right. So the name is going to be, yeah, so what I need is actually a struct. I need to say what struct this function belongs to. And this dot struct equals struct. So new script struct dot get GML name plus an underscore and plus the name. So that will be its GML name. And then it also takes a description, which I'm going to leave blank for now. So this will be our script equals new script. And then we do script dot append our body. However, our body needs to get all of its IDs replaced with depending on our arguments. So if you have the arguments, for example, x, we want to replace that ID with argument 0. So what we'll do is, before that, we need to have a property now. Do I have a property based on, what is this called again? Antler. Was it property? Was it node property? No, I don't actually remember. Let me scour the Antler runtime. Rule context, token, car streams. That's not it. Comparators doesn't seem right. Tree. Parse tree property. That's right. Parse tree property of type. Is this how parse tree properties work? So it will have a, let's say, an integer. No, let's say it's yeah, let's give it an integer. Alright, so TB Game Design asking what GMStruct Tools does. So it allows you to write code in a language I'm creating called GMS, and it will generate some GML code, which is which will basically have your struct. So basically in GMS, if I open this test, you can define a struct. Here I have a struct named foo, for example, and it has a variable of type x, of name x with the type bar, which is itself another struct, and one attribute named y, and with a default value of 0. And you can do some other things as well. And it will generate some functions which will allow you to use that data structure inside GML. It's quite powerful. It does quite a few things. You have inheritance, you have type checking and everything. Yeah. Great to make structs for nodes for pathfinding. Yeah, exactly. You could create nodes for pathfinding. So right now it's only just structs. So you can already use normal structs. They work just fine. Nodes just with values. And now today on this stream, I'm starting to add functions, which will eventually be polymorphic. Right now they will not, however. So we're gonna have this called, let's just call it argument. That's a bad name. Arg property. Yeah, that should be fine. Equals new parse-tree property, whatever. And then let's create a new walker. I need more water too. But this won't allow you to import them during runtime. No, this is all compile time stuff. It's a tool to allow you to write better code in a way. It's kind of it allows you to have an OO approach. It's kind of like a new language, which GML can then use, if that makes sense. Eventually, when plugins are a thing, I hope to make this like really part of the, of GameMaker by adding a plugin for it. But right now, an external tool will have to do. So we want a tree walker. So I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to say class. I'm going to call this. Actually, we can have a listener for this. I'm going to create a new class called a bot. ID argument listener. I'm always great at naming things. Oh, and this will be a GMStruct listener, base listener. And this is not GMS. It needs to write extends. So I want to have enter ID. Just enter ID. It doesn't exist. Oh, right. Right. It cannot enter, it has to enter rules. It cannot enter these things here. So, ooh, that's gonna be a bit annoying. Hopefully I can do this and then say that ID is an ID. And hopefully it doesn't complain. So can I still run it without it complaining? Yay, it worked. And it all seems good, okay. Maybe one day I'll make a video on how to use GMStruct. Probably once I add functions though, because I feel like it's easier to demonstrate what the power this tool will have once functions are in. This should probably be ID with a capital I. So enter ID. And what I want to do here is say that if ctx.getText, or actually if arguments dot contains get text, then ooh, what is it complaining about now? Oh, that's right. Is that the wrong thing? If arguments contain get text, oh, let's bring back the chat. There we go. Then we want to say, no, I'm gonna have to make this be over here, which is not the best, but whatever. Our property dot put at ctx arguments dot index of ctx dot get text. Okay, that should work. And now here I can say what can I say? Tree walker parse tree walker equals new parse tree walker, and walker dot walk, our listener is going to be a new ID argument listener, and our parse tree will be, oh, it has to be the context. Okay, so I'm going to have to say, so string, actually I could move this up here. Context dot function body, and now I can have another walker, and I can call this actually a text builder, a string builder listener. Which will also extend GMStruct base listener. This time we're going to enter any rule. We're going to have a builder over here. And every time we enter any rule, if ctx dot is child, can I do that? No. What can I do? Visit terminal node. Here you go. That should work, I think. So every time we visit a terminal node, I want to say builder dot append node dot get text, unless we have our properties dot get node. Actually, our properties don't have. Can I do it? Has no. Okay, I'm gonna do our property of get node dot no equals null. So if it's null, we can do this. Otherwise, ooh, that won't work. That will not work. Because ID will no longer be a terminal node, will it? I wonder if I go here, can I change this to visit terminal node? Can I say node dot This does not make things easy. So what I'm trying to do is replace somehow all of the IDs which are in the arguments with argument 1, argument 2, and so on. But now I'm thinking there's a much easier way. There's actually a much easier way. We don't need listeners and all that. What we can say over here is we can append the body, but before appending the body, we can do script.append. So we can say for string arg in arguments, script.append, and we can say var plus arg plus, which is probably better to do var dot append arg dot append equals argument dot append, and here I should have int I equals 0 I plus plus dot append semicolon. That way we just initialize variables first. Oh, and a new line. Boom. Save this. Save it again just because I'm paranoid. And now let's have our generator create functions for us. So I don't remember how this all works. I think it's inside parser. We have where we generate our structs. And I think we can now, oh, each of our structs should have functions. Private list of functions, and when we create a namespace, okay, so we always call this, that's okay. Then we can say this, we can say functions equals new array list. And we can have public void add function functions dot add, and this should take a function as an argument. Function add function. Then inside generator, no, parser, after appending all the attributes and everything, we can append functions. And we can say, okay, so this is already for each remaining struct. So we can say, ooh, yes, for each function context in our struct dot get ooh, this doesn't make things easy. I'm gonna actually have to move this somewhere else. I'm gonna have to move this this is interesting. What is this? This is dependencies, GMStruct, read file. How does it already have global namespace created? But nothing is added to the global. I'm so confused with my own code. Oh, I have a parse. I see. I have, this is its own listener, enter struct, do things. Okay. So I can add dependencies, I can add the current struct as dependency. And I can add the functions here, even though I'm gonna have to change that later. Actually, what I should probably do to make things correct. So each struct knows what its context is. So all I need is a get context thing. So public struct context get context. Return context. Oh, I already have that function, which means I can go back into my parser, back in where I was before, and actually go instruct dot get context dot function list dot function, and then I can say struct dot add function, new function, which takes our current struct and a function context. I can save that and now go inside my struct, which I think has a get functions, gets new script, get setter, get check, get IDs, get scripts, which will also say for function in functions scripts dot add function dot get script. Boom. And all we should have to do now is run this, actually edit our test with a very simple struct foo. I'm actually going to remove everything in here so we can have a clean thing to work on. Struct foo. Let's have an x and a y thing, and let's after that have a function called foo, called bar, whatever. I'll take x and y, and what it will do is say, actually that won't work. Let's do underscore x underscore y, and say x plus equals underscore, oh that won't work, I need to change this, x equals x plus underscore x, y equals y plus underscore y, and I just realized it doesn't know about plus either. Actually, here you go, that's a good test to check. Let's run this and see if it works. Alright, so I created a new foo thing, and it created a function called foo underscore bar, and it does indeed do var x equals argument 0, var y equals underscore 1, and x equals underscore x, y equals underscore y. Now it messes up the whole formatting, but it's still correct code, so that doesn't matter. So this is essentially working, which is bad actually, because I just realized it can set x and y correctly, but it doesn't do everything correctly. It shouldn't be x equals underscore y, it should be yeah, that's not gonna work. Because presumably this bar is a function on foo. So it needs to take as a first argument before that, it needs to take in the actual struct to act upon. And if one of these is equal to one of these up here, it needs to use the arrays and things like that. So this actually makes everything a bit more complicated, but it's still doable. So let's go back into our function. And we can have something along the lines of, oh yeah, so I don't need this property anymore, I can remove that. Yeah, so I'm still going to need my walker and things like that to say that each ID needs to be replaced with... This is going to make things a little bit tricky. Unless I cheat a little. I could cheat. I could do all the maths on the declared variables. And then right at the end, assign them again. Which would make everything so much easier. I could always refactor it later. So what I'm going to do is, after having these set up, I can say for attribute in structs dot instruct. Actually, that should work. Script dot append attributes dot first var dot append attribute dot name dot append equals dot append. Does attributes have number? No. So actually, first of all, let's change this to I equals 1 and quickly do scripts dot append var underscore underscore struct. Hopefully no one uses the double underscore struct name. Actually, let's finish it with 2 underscores as well. Hopefully no one uses that name ever. And that's going to be equal to argument 0. Here you go. So now we know what struct we're working against. And down here we can say append struct append underscore underscore struct underscore underscore square brackets, and here we're going to have a new var equals I int I equals 1, and here dot append I. Okay, apparently I'm just, oh yeah, it's already defined, just I equals I plus plus over here dot append okay. And right at the end, we can have the opposite, where we say append struct whatever whatever is equal to dot append and our attribute name, and append the end of line, no line, backslash n. I should probably have backslash n here as well. So let's file save and try this again. So we still have foobar over here. And so first of all we say x equals the first one, y equals the second one, which is correct. And right at the end, if I prettify this, we say, oh, that's not correct. That should be back to... For some reason this line here is being oh wait, no, hang on. I need to say here I equals 1 once again and run this. And it seems to be working. If I once again prettify this, we have we first set the x to struct1 and whatever. We then changed the variable according to our script before, and then we set it back to what we just calculated. So let's change a couple things. What we want to change is I'm not entirely sure what we need to change now. One thing we can do is add a return statement. So, but I'm going to skip on that. I have an idea, but it's going to need a huge refactoring of what we currently added, which I prefer to do off of stream. So really quickly, let's actually test this. Let's go back to our main, and let's go over here and let's delete all of this code. And we're actually going to be able to test this new functionality. Let's actually remove all of this. I know it works. Let's find where I created my tests. So we have this new test. So let's delete all this and do struct. Let's say we have a coordinate. So struct coord, which has an x and a y variable, and it has a set. Set will take underscore x and underscore y, and I'll say x equals underscore x and y equals underscore y. So this should allow us to set our this function basically should be able to set the coordinates of our struct. So if I go back here, open gen and quickly delete all of this so it's nice and clean. Go here, run our main, open our test, save it inside gen, check what we have, drag and drop it into our project. We now have a bunch of functions. Open our test. We can say var chord equals new chord, and we're going to start off 0, 0. We can then quickly print out the values. So I'm just going to do show debug message chord x chord, and I'm going to copy this chord y chord. So this should show all x and y coordinates, which is currently 0. Actually, let's change this to 1 and 2. And then we're going to do chord set, which should take our chord as argument 0. For some reason, oh, okay. So it needs a bit of a change here, but I can fix that. So it will take our chord and our new x and y things. So let's set them to 3 and 4, and let's once again print out our debug and see if this works. So cannot really declare a built-in variable. Oh, it's gonna complain about x and y, isn't it? Okay, let's call them underscore x underscore y. So it does have limitations because of the way GML works. I'm gonna have to work around this when I have a better working system, when I have a better code thing. I'm gonna write a separate code interpreter for this. So let's go in here. Let's quickly fix the problem we had before, which was inside function. Here we go. Let's run it again. Test. Gen. Remember, it was great. Also, it remembers the last file you open, which is super handy. I think these two are now obsolete. Go in here, delete these two, all of these, add them again. Go back into our test. So now this should be chord underscore x, and this. Yeah, this using built-in variables is something I haven't thought about. I'll have to fix that as soon as I can. But now this should work. Okay, and down here see 1, 2, and 1, 2 again. So there is a problem with chord set. Oh, I should be using accessor, shouldn't I? So let's test this to see if accessor is what I should be using. Nope, apparently not. Apparently that wasn't the problem. Try this again because I don't see the problem at first. Chord set gets our chord, which is set to struct 3 and 4. It gets the existing variables. Oh, right. That's me being dumb inside my code. This should be underscore and underscore and double underscores. Okay, save that again. There was a problem with accessors, which I know is wrong already. So I'm gonna press space, save and run. Alt task gets generated inside alt gen. Delete the existing scripts. Again, I'm gonna try to automate this system. We would just have to supply your GMS file, and yeah. Run this again. And we got 1, 2, 3, and 4, so it seems to be working. So we can say chord set 3 and 4. And yeah, so this is what it can do for now. Well, what functions can do for now. I think it's going to need a full function, like a full, like, right now this is a pretty, like, meager GML language definition, grammar, whatever. So I'm going to have to change that by having a lot more things. I'm going to see if there isn't an existing an existing grammar for a similar language where I could adapt. And hopefully this should make things a little easier, allow you to use built-in game maker variables and so on. So yeah, this is gonna have to be it for today though, for this stream, because I'm running out of, I ran out of water already, and also I think this is about as much as I can do on stream without spending hours like writing grammar files. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have, and if you would like to see more Java stuff as well, or even C# instead of just GML, please let me know, and I'll try to make more of them. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, even though I haven't really explained what I was doing as much as I could have. And yeah, check out GMStruct. I'll be putting a link to it in the chat again, if you're interested in checking it out, because I think it is a pretty cool little nifty thing. And I really want to see it grow into something a bit bigger, so I would love to see you guys checking it out. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'm going to stop the stream now. Catch you guys next week.